guys, today we have a question from Bob. They did not give me a name, so Bob is going to be the placeholder name that we use here, right? So Bob sent me a message and said that they've been training jiu-jitsu for about 2.5 years, and they're having a problem, and this is what I think, they're having a problem that a lot of new competitors have in jiu-jitsu. And so what's happening is, been training for 2.5 years, has competed several times, and every time Bob has competed, Bob has won their first round match, right? Has won. And also, every single time Bob has competed, Bob has lost their second round match. Bob says that when they go in there, they're exhausted. Their muscles are blown out. They don't have anything for their opponents. And, they look at their opponents and they watch them roll and they're like, man, they're not that much better than any of the competitors I've beaten. I just don't have anything for them. I'm exhausted. And so he sends me the message like, hey, Chewy, what can I do to, make this not happen? How can I roll in the gym, but then I can't roll in this competition for more than a round, right? So it's a good question, Bob. And again, I said this just a second ago. This is a common problem that a lot of newer jiu-jitsu competitors have, right? They can go to their gyms, and many of you are going to be nodding your head in a second. And again, I was there too at some point. You can go to your gym and you can roll for like an hour or two, no problem. Round after round after round, you're good. And then you go to your competition 6 minutes and you're exhausted. Your lungs are burning. Your arms are curled up. There's blood flowing in your forearms. You can't even open your hands anymore. So I don't know if you've ever had that experience. I've had it plenty of times. Obviously, the intensity level is very different for a competition, right? You're going full 100% in the competition. If you had a heart rate monitor, your heart rate would be through the roof, just redlining the whole time. So that's a thing, right? And also, Bob, I'm going to assume that you're doing all the basic stuff, right? Like trying to get more rounds in, doing extra cardio off the mats, getting your diet in check, losing weight if you're overweight, because again, there's no reason for us to be in an endurance-based sport and carrying around tons of extra weight, right? So getting all that stuff together, I'm going to assume you're doing that, right? So then what gives? What can you do? So one of the things that maybe is an idea to think about is, let's say that I was going to ask you, Bob, all right, I've got a obstacle course that's going to get you to use every single part of your body. You're going to be running, you're going to be climbing, you're going to be doing all this stuff. Would you jump into that like from a dead cold body, like straight off your couch or just standing around? Would you jump into that obstacle course that way, right? Probably not. Intuitively, you probably think that's not a good idea, right? You would probably want to get warmed up, get your body nice and loose before you did that, right? Same thing with anything physical we do. But for whatever reason, when people go to competitions, they do a shoddy job of doing warm-ups, right? Especially when they're new. They don't really realize how important it is. And I've seen it so many times where white belts and even blue belts and things like that have gone into competitions, and you'll just see them standing around, right? Just sitting there. And then they go into the match and they go from essentially a cold, not warmed up body to you're going full tilt with another human being trying to rip your face off. And then you just basically gas out because your body had no warm up. You went full, like your heart rate's going, you're going to the red line, and boom, it's just too much. Get that adrenaline dump, everything's going. One of the things that's really important, any competitor will tell you how important this is to dial in your warm-up. Now, everybody has different warm-ups, and warm-ups can change depending on the situation. For me, I like doing some way to mimic the roll, right? Like I'll actually grab a student. If we have a matted area, we'll go and roll in the matted area. So I can sort of, get rid of that adrenaline, because a lot of times I can get that adrenaline dump out during my practice roll. I'll get that like shakiness and that weakness in my grips. And then once I get my roll and the blood's flowing, I feel great afterwards, right? I can also get that first lung burn, that lung blow, so to speak, where I can feel my body just opening up and the respiratory system is really working, opposed to it being like not there yet, right? Because again, when you're warming up your body, you're warming up your muscles, you're also warming up that respiratory system. So it can start to take in the oxygen and blow out the CO2 that it needs to. And so again, doing that good hard roll just to get going, that helps. If I'm by myself, which sometimes that's happened, I'll typically have some resistance bands and some stuff so I can move the resistance bands and do some stuff to get my body warmed up and do some burpees and calisthenics and things like that to just get the whole body going and then go compete. The thing that I learned in wrestling very young was that we never compete without a glaze of sweat on our body, right? So if you can't touch your body and have a good amount of sweat in your hand, you got to get more warmed up, right? We can't step onto that mat cold. because if you do, it's going to be bad news, right? And one, from an injury standpoint, but also very much from a performance standpoint. Your muscles aren't warmed up. Your respiratory system's not warmed up. You probably are going to have a big adrenaline dump out there because you haven't had that already. So again, what I would encourage you to do, if you're not already doing this, Bob, is the next time you're getting ready for your competition, make sure you have some sort of warm-up routine for your competition in place. Just give yourself some calisthenics to do. Grab one of your training partners and do some grip battling or some flow rolling or whatever it is that you want to do. But get a really good glaze of sweat. Get your heart rate up. Get rid of all that shakiness in your body that a lot of times is customary when you're getting ready to do something intense and you have the adrenaline flowing. Get all that stuff out of the way and then go see how you compete. And hopefully that helps you, brother. And I'll talk to you guys next time.